This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, join me, Rob McConnell, on the X-Zone TV show, coming soon to screens of all sizes. On the X-Zone TV show, we'll investigate UFOs, ghosts, alien abductions, demonic possession, psychic phenomenon, angels, lake monsters, Bigfoot, unsolved mysteries, and all subject matter from within the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology, and much, much more. The X-Zone TV show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, www.xzonetv.com, is a rel-mar McConnell media company and Airplay Media production. Unwilling to be the government's deadly assassin, gifted psychic Kahara Mitchell went AWOL and ended up buried under rubble in the wake of a great tsunami. She regained consciousness far from Earth on the medical ship of a Daguerreonian intergalactic fleet. Has she been rescued or abducted by aliens? The Chalice of Carrie, Kahira O'Donnell's latest paranormal science fiction romance, is the passionate story of an Earthwoman and her destined mates, twin kings from another galaxy. Kahara uses her gifts fighting alongside Lords Rom and Ra in a war that will determine the destiny of galaxies. The Chalice of Carrie by Kahira O'Donnell is now available at KahiraO'Donnell.com or at Amazon.com.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Welcome to the X-Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell, and the X-Zone is a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And the X-Zone comes to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern, right here on the X-Zone Broadcast Network and on Starcom Media Radio Network. Or is it just Comstar Radio Network? They have so many companies, it's kind of hard to keep them all straight. But my producer tells me, through my earpiece, it's Starcom Radio Network. Worldwide toll-free, 800-610-7035. My email address is xzone at xzoneradiotv.com. On all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV. And for 724, 365 listening of the X-Zone Radio Show, go to www.xzoneradiotv.com. My first guest tonight is David Campione, and we're going to be talking about UFOs, those strange things that people around the world are reporting. And first of all, Dave, welcome back to the X-Zone. Great having you with us. David, tell me about your involvement in UFOs, the search for the truth. Where did it start?
Well, basically, it started growing up, Rob. My father was one of the groundbreakers with flying saucer research when he read an article, I believe it was in True Magazine. I don't know if you remember.
Oh, I sure do, yeah.
And there was something with Major Donald Kehoe had talked about He was the first one to
Yeah.
bring out the term flying saucers, and that started my dad on a quest of research, which was the late 40s through the 50s, and then through the 60s and 70s when his eyesight went bad. He had to quit his research. But I grew up in that whole environment where during his research and his accumulation of these color slides and doing the actual research of going out and talking to people who say they saw a flying saucer or a UFO. They say that because they were unidentified.
So tell me, David, have you yourself seen a UFO?
I've seen about 13. I should say about, but definitely 13. The first one but I saw there were 6 of us, and we just left Boy Scouts, and we were walking home on Frankfurt Avenue Bridge in Philadelphia, the northeast section of Philadelphia, actually the Holmesburg area, near Mayfair. I'm trying to narrow it down, and the kids, it was 1956, and we just stopped on the bridge, looking towards the Delaware River, which would have been looking east, and we were kicking some stones off the bridge. We were kids, we were only 12 years old, and for some reason, it seemed like all 6 of us looked up at the same time, and there was this craft or this flying disc that went by. It looked like a huge circular fluorescent lamp and we estimated it 300 feet in diameter, and it was probably a mile from us. And that was like the first physical sighting that I've ever had. And it was I'm still in touch with one of the young men, or one of the people that I was on that bridge with.
Really?
Yeah, since 1956, we still stay in contact. We're good friends. We fished a lot together, and we still communicate by phone, emails like everybody else does. And
Right.
some of the other ones that I've seen I was under a lot of pressure with a position I was working under, a stress job outside of Lima, Pennsylvania, outside of Philadelphia.
Right.
And one evening I was leaving work, and I just looked to the western sky. Something asked me to look, and I just saw this huge, cylinder sitting above the horizon. It must have been, I can't even estimate the length, so I know what people go through when they try to estimate sizes. And this same craft, as far as I know, 7 years later, when I was surf fishing on Ship Bottom, New Jersey, on the beach, the same, as far as I'm concerned, was the same exact craft sitting out over the ocean. Just a huge, huge cylinder.
David, who do you think the occupants of these crafts are? Where do they come from? And I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to think about this next question. In your opinion, after researching UFOs for all these years, and the research that your dad did into this phenomenon, do you believe that these occupants, no matter where they come from, actually pose a threat to this planet? I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to think about this. David Campione is my special guest, Exo Nation, www.spacioussky.com. That's spacioussky.com. And David and I will be back on the other side of this 2-minute commercial break as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. If you'd like to ask a question, if you'd like a special guest, if you'd like to comment on one of our shows, it's very simple. Send an email to xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. This is, like I say, each and every night, a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. To listen to the X Zone Radio Show 724, 365, visit us online at xzoneradiotv.com. We'll be back after this short commercial break. Don't go away.
The Alien Cosmic Expo will be held in Brantford, Ontario, June 26, 27, 28, and will feature 24 internationally acclaimed experts and researchers of UFOs, crop circles, alien abductions, and much more in this 3-day 2015 summer Canadian event. Experts in the field of extraterrestrials and alien encounters, out-of-body experiences, past life regression, soul reading, psychic, and mediumship will all be presented with professionalism, integrity, and credibility, making the Alien Cosmic Expo the largest event of its kind in Canada for 2015. The exhibitor hall will feature a spectacular lineup of gifted mediums, psychics, astrologers, channelers, aura photography, healers, as well as books, DVDs, alternative health products, crystals, jewelry, and much more, completing the venue with something for everyone. For all information and to purchase your tickets for the Alien Cosmic Expo, go to www.aliencosmicexpo.com. That's www.aliencosmicexpo.com.
Rob McConnell here, presenting an overview for Nicholas Paul Jennings, author of a fascinating book, Amen. It presents facts revealed by Egyptologists, facts that enable us to understand why Amen is the beginning of creation of God. It provides recommendations for religious leaders of the major religions to unify their beliefs and teach the Word of God. Love one another. Amen informs people how mankind conceived God. It was the Egyptians that developed the concepts of a soul, a hereafter, and Son of God. And finally, after the worship of many gods, they conceived the belief in one universal God, the maker of all there is. For more information, visit www.futureofgodamen.com. That's www.futureofgodamen.com. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, join me, Rob McConnell, on the X-Zone TV show, coming soon to screens of all sizes. On the X-Zone TV show, we'll investigate UFOs, ghosts, alien abductions, demonic possession, psychic phenomenon, angels, lake monsters, Bigfoot, unsolved mysteries, and all subject matter from within the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology, and much, much more. The X-Zone TV show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, www.xzonetv.com, is a rel-mar McConnell media company and Airplay Media production. David Campione is my special guest to this hour, Exonation, www.spacioussky.com. So tell me, David, the question I asked you before we went to the commercial break was, in your opinion, as being a person who has researched this phenomenon for years, your dad researched this phenomenon for years, do you think, in your heart of hearts, that those who are the occupants of these ET crafts, UFOs, these voyagers from another place, do they pose a threat to us here on this planet Earth?
Not all of them. I would say 99% of them do not have a threat, and they're here to help us. One of the things that particular craft, which I brought up, the first one that I saw in 1956, it was during the late 70s when my dad put together. We had the Del Val UFO, which was southern New Jersey and Philadelphia. There was a man who worked for a think tank, and I don't know what think tank it was. I don't know what he did in the think tank. And I was telling him about this particular incident when I was a child, a young man, and he said those people were from Alpha Centauri. Now, and I looked at him and I said, "Well, how do you know this?" He said, "Because that's what I do. I sit in the tank and I receive information from people." Now, I can only pass that along.
Yeah.
What he has is they lock him in a room, and that's what he does. He comes up with whatever he comes up with and writes it down and records it, whatever they did back in those days. But the other thing is I don't know if you can see this, but
nice and clear.
The book, that spacecraft. Now, that was from Como Berenices, which for the astronomers, that's M60, which is the spiral galaxy. And Mr. Paul Villa from Albuquerque, New Mexico, during the 1960s, photographed that particular craft. It's only one photo on the cover of the book, of the manual. He photographed the people from that spacecraft. And They were between 7 and 9 feet tall.
Right.
5 men, 4 women, and Paul said that they just exhibited the Christ light. They were just beautiful, beautiful individuals, and he took the photographs of the people, but he was told by them he would not be allowed to release those photographs of us until he was told to. After Paul had passed on, I mean, it was years of my father and him communicated, and when Paul passed on, his from what I understand, his wife burned all those photographs, all the negatives and everything,
Really?
because there was a big greed factor involved, which he thought she was going to become extremely wealthy from these. So here's somebody who was really friendly people and who exhibited just a wonderful being of Christ, and Paul being a very religious individual and a God-fearing man.
Right.
And to come up with a comment like that is pretty phenomenal, because you don't hear people talk about things like that.
When you were having your sightings, did you feel as if there was anything trying to communicate with you? Did you feel that this was something that you should fear? Did you have the feeling that you should run, get away from it, or were you inquisitive? Did you feel as if there was contact being made?
I think the only feeling, the real feeling I had of any of them was when I was surf fishing and that craft was out over the ocean, that monster cylinder-shaped craft. It was like I was just standing there and just looking, like immobilized, mind working, eyes working, but nothing else, just standing there, just observing what was going on. No fear. No animosity, no nothing. It was just like, okay, you're there. You know, when you grow up around this, you say, okay, well, if you don't meet me, what, you know, I need something more than just that. You know, you're going to come in a little bit closer.
Sure.
But they have not at this time come in closer for me. So I, even though I try, but I haven't had that opportunity yet.
How do you address the fact that there are still skeptics out there? And there are many people who are not only skeptics, but they love to make fun of people. You know, how do you deal with skepticism?
Yeah, you just don't. I mean, you're not going to convert somebody to something. It just doesn't work that way. There could be, you could have 100 people, or actually do 10 people, and have somebody walk by and just go to each individual 5 minutes later and try to get a description of whoever walked by, what they were wearing, how tall they were, whether they had glasses, color there, and you're going to have 10 different answers. So I think
agree.
that's one of the problems. Yeah.
Do you think that the governments of the world are actually involved in a conspiracy to suppress this information?
Yeah, I think they have been. They always have been, and they do partake in somehow with meeting them. I don't know for personally. I've never been in a situation where there's a government and an ET, but that's just my opinion. I believe that they are. Now, when I was out west on my honeymoon in 1988. We were driving back to Las Vegas through the desert and coming from California, and I noticed something off into you can see the foothills way out, off the highway, and I yelled to my wife. She was driving. I said, stop the car, because I thought it was a plane crash about to happen. There was this huge black craft that must have been a mile long with a tail. It looked like the fuselage of a huge airliner, but it was black. And then we stopped the car and it was gone. So we drove. We found a power line highway, and we drove back there 4.5 miles to the area, Rob, where we were, which it looked like it was like a quarter of a mile off the road. And here it was 4.5 miles back. We went back, climbing over the foothills out there, looking for this craft or something, and maybe we could meet somebody. And never saw it again. But way up on top of one of the cliffs, I don't know the altitude of the cliffs, were some cutouts. It was like squared out in the side of this cliff, and it was we were already 4.5 miles in, so this thing must have been another, I don't know, 3-4 miles away on this cliff, and you could see a big square cut out of the side of the mountain. And whether the craft went in there, I don't know. But while we were looking around, I looked back east, because we were looking at the west, and way up on top of the hills, it looked like a traffic signal in the middle of nowhere. Huge lights. So I have no idea whether... Now, that could have been one of ours, whether we were working with those people, our government, I mean, I don't know, but never had any personal confirmation on that at all. So
this craft that you saw while your wife was driving, you both stopped, you yelled at her to stop the car. You're saying this craft, it was a black craft?
Black.
It was a mile long?
At least, or longer, because when we drove back, we timed the distance to that area, and it was 4.5 miles back to the area where we saw the craft driving on these dirt roads. But no animosity, no fear, no nothing. I mean, it's just, hey, why not? I had the camera out. I was all set to photograph them, and they weren't there.
Tell me, what does your wife think about your interest in UFOs and ETs?
Oh, excellent.
Really? Very
positive. Absolutely, yeah. Very positive.
Besides that one sighting that your wife had with you with this mile-long craft, has she herself had sightings on her own?
No, but we had together. We had a couple. Which, well, when I see them at night, I don't put a lot of credence in them until I can actually see a physical ship there.
Right.
So you see lights, and that's all you see are certain lights, and that's what all we saw down in South Florida. Yeah.
Why do you think the government is suppressing this information?
Well, because there's a big control over all of us, Rob, as Mr. Snowden has came out a few years ago after he told us what the NSA
all right. But let me ask you this before you get into the Snowden factor.
Yeah.
How come with all the hacking that has gone on in government data banks, none of these hackers, including Snowden himself, has ever produced any evidence that the government has secret files on UFOs?
Well, they could have closed systems, which is very possible. I mean, it would be like if your computer or mine, we wouldn't be able to link up. Everything would just stay right in that system, so you couldn't hack it.
But Snowden downloaded so much data. And another question that comes to mind is, if this information is somewhere, wouldn't it be a feather in the cap of the Russians or the Koreans or the Chinese to hack into a government data bank and find the evidence that the government does have proof that extraterrestrials are in fact real, that they have been dealing with them since 1947 or beyond, and bring this to light to the American people to totally break down the trust between the citizens and the government? If that is the case, why hasn't it happened?
Well, I personally think the reason it has not happened because they don't want the people to know that they're not competent enough to have the technology to deal with these extraterrestrials, even though they're willing to help the good ones. And there are some bad ones out there too.
How do we know who the good guys are and the bad guys are?
Well, we got a couple. In my UFO manual, which is on Amazon,
right?
The UFO spacecraft identification manual. It's on Kindle and on Amazon under my name. There's two incidences that are cited in there. And one of them is in Florida of a beehive-shaped craft that a guy was hunting, and he saw this thing, and he went and threw some rocks at it, and he went up to it, and a beam of light hit him in the face, and he lost his sight, and he woke up later, and the craft was gone, and he regained his eyesight. So there was a hostile act there.
Why did he throw rocks at it?
Who knows? Who knows? Why do people do things? Why do people fly in suits off of a mountain in Switzerland?
Oh, yeah, that's good. That's a good question. And there are so many questions when it comes to UFOs, extraterrestrials, and all aspects of the paranormal.
Right.
And I'm glad you're here with us tonight to try and make some sense of what these crafts are, who these occupants are. And when we come back, let's talk about your new book. Exonation,
Okay.
David Campione is our special guest, www.spacioussky.com. That's spacioussky.com. My name is Rob McConnell. This is the X Zone. We're coming to you from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. David Campione and I will be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news, and we'd like to say hello to all our new listeners on the Starcom Radio Network. My name is Rob McConnell. Don't go away. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, join me, Rob McConnell, on the X Zone TV show, coming soon to screens of all sizes. On the X Zone TV show, we'll investigate UFOs, ghosts, alien abductions, demonic possession, psychic phenomenon, angels, lake monsters, Bigfoot, unsolved mysteries, and all subject matter from within the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology, and much, much more. The X Zone TV show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, www.xzonetv.com, is a rel-mar McConnell media company and Airplay Media production.
Little children aren't the only ones afraid of the dark. Millions of soldiers return from war zones with PTSD, anger, frustration, fear, and loneliness, much of which surfaces during the darkness of the night. You have the chance to change the lives of these American heroes. Songs and Stories for Soldiers.us provides free MP3 players for these men and women. With a list of 3 million songs in 16 different styles, 100,000 audiobooks, and 30,000 old-time radio programs, every veteran can find something to soothe and comfort them at no cost. All our players contain an 8-hour audio program designed to help veterans fall asleep. With 1,500 plus vets now participating, it's our goal to deliver 10,000 audio players this year. Go to our website at songsandstoriesforsoldiers.us. Help us help a veteran make it through the night.
With each new extreme weather event or terrorist act, it becomes increasingly obvious that we live in uncertain and challenging times. We all buy car insurance. Why not collapse and catastrophe insurance? Matthew Stein, an MIT-trained engineer and green builder, has written 2 outstanding books to help people prepare, plan for, and deal with everything from minor situations lasting a few days to full-on collapse. Matt's first book, When Technology Fails, is a manual for self-reliance, sustainable living, and surviving the long emergency. This massive book covers the gamut from first aid and emergency preparedness to alternative healing, renewable energy, primitive living skills, and 18th century technologies that could be critical to your comfort and survival in a long-lasting crisis. Matt's second book, When Disaster Strikes, is a comprehensive emergency preparedness handbook and survival guide. When Disaster Strikes is an essential item for every family's go bag. Both books are available at all usual sources. There's a wealth of totally free information posted at whentechfails.com, and author-signed copies may be purchased at mattstein.com. That's www.whentechfails.com and www.mattstein.com. Welcome back, everyone. David Campione is our special guest, www.spacioussky.com. He's the author of the UFO Spacecraft Identification Manual. It's available on Amazon and Kindle. David, How can we tell who the good extraterrestrials are and who the bad ones are?
Well, if nobody bothers you, I guess they're good. But in the manual, there's a series, if you follow the exact procedure, it tells you how you can contact a friendly craft, because the evil ones, the bad people, don't have those capabilities to contact us. I mean, it's a complete procedure on what to do, on how to contact a spacecraft, or if you see something at night and project. They can read your thoughts. They can read our thoughts from thousands of miles away. So it's and that's what scares a lot of people also, that they have that capability.
Why haven't they landed? Why haven't they all landed simultaneously on the White House lawn, Parliament Hill, Red Square, Buckingham Palace, and the list goes on and on and on? Why don't they just make contact once and for all?
Panic. I just think panic. I mean, the people just aren't ready for it. We have just people aren't ready for things. I mean, it just takes so long to change people's minds, and it just keeps going on, and what you can do or what you can't do, and people just don't have the wherewithal to be able to change overnight and something like that. It would be a panic. There's an incident in the UFO manual that taught in 1851 over Hyde Park at a fair, like hundreds and hundreds of spacecraft flew over Hyde Park in England. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, there was mass, and then there was that flyover in D.C. in the 50s where they sent the planes up after. I mean, there's been incidences, but unless they're invited, they're not really supposed to come down here. But they do work with people through hunches. They'll use some way to give somebody a hunch or somebody. That's where I think where all these great computer and all this systems comes from. A lot of it comes from these advanced friendly beings. It's my opinion.
So your opinion is that reverse engineering is real?
Or no, not even reverse, where they just give you the information right then and there. I mean, look what Nikola Tesla did. He would just see it before he built it, and that's exactly what I think is supposed to happen. And we get a lot of influence from ETs, and plus the people who come here.
But why don't they give us the cure for cancer? Why don't they give us the way of feeding all the people on this planet, eradicate disease? What if this information is available? Why don't they give us the technology to time travel, to go to Mars, or go throughout the universe without having solid rocket fuel and the problems that we're facing in manned spaceflight?
Well, I know my dad has tried for years. When he was alive, many years, he wrote from President Nixon on through to President Reagan, and gave him the information on it. And who knows whether they're actually designing it. I mean, we're seeing on the internet, I don't know how real it is. I quit believing what I see on TV and the internet from Forrest Gump movie, because after that, I don't believe what I see anymore on TV as being real. But the information could be out there, and that they're doing the designs. What's the lights over over Phoenix? That was a lot of information there that a lot of people saw, and that could be something that we have. And they keep testing them, and little by little, but keep bringing things out, a little bit of a time. And I'm seeing more and more of it on the internet. On the different websites about the UFOs, Yahoo and Drygen, those particular sites. So it's getting out slowly, Rob.
With all the advanced technology we have today, the high-definition cameras, the remote cameras, infrared, night vision, all this technology, everyone who has a cell phone, and that's 99% of the population, they all have high-definition cameras now. They have, still cameras and video cameras. How come we still don't have definitive proof of that smoking gun UFO photo or that smoking gun UFO video?
Well, I think we do. I think it is out there.
Where?
Look at the world, or the governments did to Billy Meyer with his photographs back in the 70s. mean, how much more definitive can you get? And I have, when I produced my UFO documentary years ago, 25 years ago, I had all the photographic documentary in there also. But people, the government, or I don't know, somebody suppresses it now. Whether it's a government, whether it's a black ops, I don't.
But with the internet, okay, and let's just look at what happened in Ferguson. Let's look at what happened in Baltimore. Let's look at what happened during the Boston Marathon. There, all that information was instantaneously spread around the world. If that all elusive smoking gun video has been taken, or those pictures have been taken, why not just put them on the internet, blast them all over the place, so that the government could no longer suppress the information?
Well, I think it is out there. I mean, if you got time, you can sit there 24 hours a day on a computer and look at all the photos. Now, whether they're real or not, that's the key.
Our researchers do that each and every day. Yeah. And you know what? There is still no conclusive proof. So many of the videos that are purported to be real, or the photos, we've been able to analyze them, redigitize them, and prove them to be fakes. So, how do we get to that point where it can no longer be disputed that UFOs are here, ETs are here, and the government embargo on the truth can no longer be effective?
I don't know. I'm not in that position to make that, to push that button and make the call. But I will say that the photograph here, which I'm putting up, which is on the cover, which Mr. Villa had took, and this was from the Como Berenice system, the spiral galaxy. Back in the early 1970s, I was vice president and treasurer of a small photographic firm in northern New Jersey, and somehow I got connected with some people who were CIA, and I was at a house, invited over with these slides that I got from my dad. I borrowed them from him, and we put that exact photograph on a 6x8 wall, white wall, down in their basement of this house. And these men that were there were 4 men, and they were going over this thing with magnifying glasses and stepping back and looking. Hey, one guy even had binoculars to see if he. I mean, I don't know what he was doing with them, but and they couldn't see anything. They couldn't dispute what was up there. And I said, your problem is you guys are jealous. And they said, what do you mean? I said, well, because you know that they're real and you can't say anything. And they all just looked at me like, yeah. So, but their whole point of this was to disprove what was on the wall, this photograph. That was their whole point there.
So what is your take on Project Blue Book and J. Allen Hynek?
Yeah, I think it was a whitewash of the to quell the American people because they wanted answers. They were seeing a lot of craft at that time, and I think it was put out just to keep the population controlled so they don't contact them. I don't know. It wasn't part of that Blue Book, and neither was my dad. He had issues with Hynek, who was on the U.S. Air Force payroll for 18 years. And his whole point was to debunk flying saucers. That was the whole point of that Project Blue Book.
So what can listeners learn from your book, the UFO Spacecraft Identification Manual, that's available on Amazon and Kindle?
Yes, you can learn how to protect yourself from a craft that comes too close, whether you're in an automobile, whether you're in an airplane, whether you're on a boat, or you're in your house, how to protect yourself. We have an incident report in the manual about houses that heat up from the craft getting too close, or there's a beam of light around, and you got to get out of your house and protect yourself. And same way in automobile, your engines die in the car, especially with all electronics today. It's a craft gets around that, it's going to die. Now, it used to be that if you had a diesel engine, you wouldn't have that problem back 40 years ago. But now everything, even the diesels are electronic, and they get, you get around a electromagnetic field, and it's going to die also, just like a gas engine will. So the manual will give you information on how to protect yourself no matter where you are, whether you're a pedestrian, in a boat, in an aircraft, in your home, how to contact one, a friendly one if you want, the complete procedure as long as you find it. Plus, there's 53 illustrations of what people have reported seeing, and it's the small explanation about this particular craft and a couple major incidents that the people were involved with, and then it correlates to the back of the book with the illustration of whether it's a saucer, a globe, or as somebody said, the size of 2 Cape Cod houses. So, I mean, there's just a variation of craft.
What do you think happens at Area 51 in Nevada?
No, I have no idea. Rob, I have no idea what goes on out there, other than what I hear that you can't get there. You're not allowed in there for some reason.
How about
or
the
outskirts of it?
How about the Roswell crash of 1947? What's your take on that?
Well, I think it was a real craft that had crashed, and the reason it crashed, we have our whole planet has a magnetic highways on it around it, and this is what these craft travel on, just sort of like our interstate roads. The testing in White Sands, New Mexico, of the atomic bombs wiped out one of these highways, and this is what made this one of these crafts crash as it was going along. It was like you're going along like in Minnesota a couple of years that the bridge was gone.
Oh, right, yeah.
Similar thing, similar situation with the magnetic highways.
I'm going to give you a hypothetical situation, and I'd like your answer on it. Let us say that 2 countries on this planet enter into a major dispute. The actions of both countries get to a hostile point where the button is pushed. The nuclear button is pushed. A nuclear launch is occurring. We're looking at global destruction. Would the ETs, the good ETs, interfere, step in?
Yes, they have that authority to. There was a planet which is out between Neptune and Uranus, or the other way around, Uranus and Neptune. It was called Maldek.
Right.
And they did what these people are doing here, blew themselves up, destroyed the whole planet. The solar system was affected, immensely affected on the rotation, the orbital of our solar system. There are allegedly, I can't confirm it, allegedly 1 million craft who sit, and they're volunteered, manned and womaned, above our planet, trying to keep it in shape. Because if this planet explodes like this thing Maldek did, it's going to spiral out of control. There's going to be a real problem in the not in the solar system, but in the universe, because it just goes and goes and goes.
So
they do have the capabilities, or they have the authority to interfere.
So where do these million ships hide?
Oh, they just sit up there. They could be stars. They could be planets. One lady that I knew who well, she's passed on now, that she said she was in communique with one of the craft upstairs,
right,
floating around. She asked him, "What'd you do with Venus? What happened to Venus?" He said, "What do you think a starship is? It's huge, so it's the size of a planet." I mean, this is what they say. I've never been on one, Rob, so I don't know. Of course, we're on our planet too, floating in space. I mean, we have to look at it that way at the same time.
So let me ask you this, David.
Yeah.
How do you know that there's 1 million starships out there, or 1 million ships that have the authority to intervene if there is nuclear attack?
Well, just information that's come out over the years of 40 years of people who channel psychics, if you can believe the psychics. I mean, you got to have some sort of belief in that system there, that there is somebody else looking over our shoulder to help us out. I mean, I just can't believe that we're the only ones in this whole vast starred universe, and then these people that are in control of everything. That's scary to me. I just hope that I believe there's something bigger and better than what we have here.
So what do you think that bigger and better is?
Well, there's a God. There's a God in control, and plus we have UFO people who have advanced beyond. I mean, it's there. Rob, last summer there was an article in the on the net, and it was some scientists. I guess they're with NASA out of Houston area, in Texas, and they somehow, and I don't understand it at all. They took light or sunlight and put it into a little box. A vacuum box, and they theorized that this energy, just this little bit of energy in this little teeny box, had the capabilities, if they could do it, but theorizing it now, put it into a craft, and this craft could operate, provided they could build a craft to withstand the speeds of 660 million miles per hour. Now, that's pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, it's also questionable since it's a theory that can't be tested.
Well, here was the key that they got out of.
All right, hold on. We've got to take our commercial break, David. I'm going to give you a chance to give me your feedback on this when we come back from this commercial break. Exonation, David Campione is our guest, and his new book is called The UFO Spacecraft Identification Manual, and it's available on Amazon and Kindle. Visit his website, spaciousSky.com. David and I return after this break as we wrap up this hour here in the X Zone. Don't go away.
What if someone told you you could live to be 120? Would you believe him? What if he told you the Bible guaranteed it? All you needed to do was follow his rules and buy his products. Would you do it? What if you invested 20 years of your life in him? What if he tested his substances on your child? What if your child became brain damaged as a result? Meet Dr. Tyler Belknap, a fast-talking Texas admin turned health guru. At the helm of a vast health food and supplement empire, he has established himself as the authority on nutrition and longevity. But what his followers don't know is that his products are laced with bizarre psychoactive substances from genetically modified plants developed in his very own secret lab. No wonder his customers can't stop using them. Tyler Belknap will stop at nothing to keep his edge in the market, even if it means experimenting on children. Chasing 120, a story of food, faith, fraud, and the pursuit of longevity, a novel from the pen of political cartoonist Monty Wolverton, is an easy and entertaining read full of rich characters and intrigue. It hits home in a world filled with all kind of hucksterism and offers a glimpse of what can happen when GMO technology falls into the wrong hands. Chasing 120 by Monty Wolverton. Get your copy today at www.ptm.org/120 or on Amazon.com.
When demystified, shamanism is an ancient science delving into the quantum level of life. Understanding and implementing basic shamanic principles can empower the individual to heal, manifest, and evolve in these rapidly changing times. Path Home Shamanic Art School is a one-of-a-kind Colorado State certified occupational school training and certifying shamanic practitioners and teachers. We also train individuals simply interested in empowering and enriching their lives through shamanism. Path Home's certification classes are in a week-long block format, enabling national and international students to participate. We also provide online classes and long-distance shamanic healing sessions as well. Discover all you can be. Enter the limitless world of shamanism today. For more information, visit findyourpathhome.com or call 303-775-3431.
Rob McConnell here, presenting an overview for Nicholas Paul Jennings, author of a fascinating book, Amen. It presents facts revealed by Egyptologists, facts that enable us to understand why Amen is the beginning of creation of God. It provides recommendations for religious leaders of the major religions to unify their beliefs and teach the Word of God. Love one another. Amen informs people how mankind conceived God. It was the Egyptians that developed the concepts of a soul, a hereafter, and Son of God. And finally, after the worship of many gods, they conceived the belief in one universal God, the maker of all there is. For more information, visit www.futureofgodamen.com. That's www.futureofgodamen.com.
Tell me, Exonation, are you believers or are you skeptics? Send me an email, exxon@exxonradiotv.com. David Campione is our special guest, www.spacioussky.com. He's the author of the UFO Spacecraft Identification Manual, and it's available on Amazon and Kindle. First of all, David, thanks so much for joining us. Congratulations on your new book. We look forward to reading it and to spreading the word. Once again, we were talking about theoretical physics and how these physicists believe that they have a little piece of energy or matter that if they could have a craft that could actually withstand the physics of this little box of matter or antimatter, that the craft would go over 6 million miles an hour. Am I correct?
660 million miles
660 million miles an hour. Now,
it's like an hour to Jupiter.
Wow. you know, but when you hear stuff like this from a theoretical physicist, it makes you wonder, well, okay, it sounds great, but how do you know you're right if you can't make it happen? So how do we address this issue?
Yeah, the key of the whole article was, at the end of it, they were talking 100 years from now.
Ah.
So this is how we can look at how these spacecraft operate. Some operate from mental thought. So we've been told that they communicate with their ship and they project themselves there. Some actually operate by using energy force fields. And this is so they could be just imagine what 1,000 years of technology we would be like here, because we won't be around. Well, we could come back if we want, so just think of what it can be. The craft they would be able to design and send them out there.
David, what are your final thoughts for the members of the Worldwide Exxon Nation?
Well, I would get my book because seriously, there's would love the sales. It's very cheap. It's very inexpensive. It's only $6.95, and I made it that way. But there's information in there that'll help anybody. As I said earlier, to identify a craft. I still have a hard time understanding how people can, even myself, when I've seen the craft, it's hard to judge the size of the craft. But it tells you how to contact the spacecraft, how to defend yourself, even to a craft with an ordinary flashlight. Now, I had mentioned this, you and I, in a private conversation about a flashlight, but I forgot to realize that I haven't seen anything on whether these new LED lights are any good because they don't have the beams. See, so there's a problem there. So that could throw that little theory out the window, but it doesn't hurt to try anything.
All right, David, once again, let our listeners know the name of your book and where it's available.
Okay, it's UFO Spacecraft Identification Manual by David Campione. It's available on Amazon.com and also on Kindle.
All right, David, you have to show my listeners and my viewers your award.
Okay, how is it? The EPE
there we go.
Award.
Now, where did you get that?
That I produced years ago. I got that at the UFO convention.
Fascinating. Fantastic, my friend.
Isn't it great?
It is.
Movie camera now.
Hey, David, you're going to be on the show again in the near future. Love talking to you, my friend. Congratulations on your book. And as always, take care of yourself, and we look forward to having you back on.
Thanks, Rob. Appreciate it. Appreciate your help and wonderful program.
Thank you, my friend. Exo Nation, David Campione has been my guest this hour. www.spacioussky.com. His book is entitled The UFO Spacecraft Identification Manual, and it's available on Amazon.com and Kindle. We'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news at 6.5 minutes past the top of the hour as the X-Zone continues with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.